Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of A Contagious Smile, where every smile tells a story, even those challenging, difficult ones. Denise is with us today to show you how she turned her life around. She has such a story of inspiration and grief and trauma. And when I was learning about Denise, it was like I couldn't wait to hear, even though you can learn about somebody, but to hear and meet that person and really get to know what your whole story is above and beyond just what we learned prior to coming on. I can't wait. So I thank you so much for coming on with us today and explaining who you are and what you do and your inspirational story of triumph and turning everything you went through around. Welcome, Denise. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to share my story, and hopefully somebody will get some relief from grief. Just knowing that grief, you don't have to grieve for the rest of your life.
You literally went from a widow to a warrior, and you were with your husband, I believe, since you were like 16. Is that correct?
Yep.
Oh, so
Met him at my
he
met
was
him
your
at my
one and
best.
only.
He was my one and only. Met
Oh.
him at my best friend's 16th birthday party. And I really didn't like him at the time. I was like, no, go away.
So what happened?
So we just ended up getting married. He didn't even propose to me. I've never been proposed to. We just got married. I was 18 going on 19 when we got married.
So it wasn't
And
Denise. He was like, "Hey, I'll have the lobster for dinner. By the way, let's just go get hitched."
basically we just got married. It was just there was no, and reflecting after he died, I remember having a breakdown moment and thinking, I've never even been proposed to.
Oh, and after all those years, you never like, "Hey, buddy, wink, wink. Do you think that maybe at some point in time you could like ask me to marry you just so I know what it felt like?"
Oh, we used to have those conversations. I said, if you didn't even blooming propose to me, and he'd say, well, I didn't need to, did I? Look, we're married.
And you're like, "And that's why I didn't like you when I met you." Yeah. So how did he charm his way to you if you didn't like him when you met him?
Well, I used to hide in cupboards and things when he used to come and visit because I wasn't there because I didn't want to see him. And 16-year-old little girls are like, oh no,
Yeah.
my friends would all be there and I wouldn't be at home. And I would just tell them, I'm not here, I'm not here, I'm not here, I'm not here. I honestly don't know how he charmed his way in. It was just one of those things. We just started dating and then we started, we didn't stop dating and then we just got married and then we had kids and our life unfolded that way. We were really best of friends. We did everything together. We worked together. We had businesses together. So many times people used to say to me, how can you see each other 24 hours a day? Because we did.
Yeah.
And I said, it's easy. We're just with each other 24 hours a day.
Right.
I'm sure we had our ups and downs. I mean, no marriage is roses, lollipops, and unicorns. That doesn't exist.
No,
But
right.
but we grew together. We grew together. We often used to say, we're bringing each other up. We're raising each other
Oh.
because he was so young and I was so young, and we had our kids young, and our life, our life was moving forward.
Oh. And then when he was 55, what happened?
55, he went to work. Well, he went to work. It was a Monday morning, and he went to work, picked me, see ya, bye, picked me on the cheek. Have a good day. And about an hour later, I got a call from him to say that he's got terrible backache. He's coming home. And can I call the doctor? And I knew something was wrong because he was never going to see a doctor. He was always fine. The doctors didn't know what they were talking about. I'm a man. I can do it. That strong persona.
Yeah.
And I knew there was something wrong. So I was trying to call the doctor and he called again and he said, don't, just get me an ambulance. I'm on the side of the road. I can't drive. Called an ambulance. They came. He went into hospital. We were living in a rural setting on 8 acres of land, and the major hospital was 8 hours away.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
they
they
took
life
him.
flight him?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Okay.
flying doctor, Australian flying doctor, flew him down to Brisbane, and that's where they discovered that he had a spontaneous bleed on his spine. One in a
Know that.
million. One
Yeah.
in a million doesn't happen. That it only happens if you have an epidural that goes wrong or lumbar puncture that goes wrong, but your spine doesn't bleed.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, which resulted in him being paralyzed from the waist down. So we were going, okay, well, their life's changed. He's going to be paralyzed. And then he moved his big toe, and we knew, nah, this is a man that's a fighter. He's a fighter.
Yeah.
He was removed. He was moved out of intensive care into a general ward. And 2 weeks later, I got a call from the Brisbane hospital because I was up 8 hours away because I was traveling and driving up and down
Oh, bless your heart.
to say that he had passed away.
They didn't call and say anything that you needed to get down there, that
It was that quick.
what
It was that.
happened? Oh, God.
I still, yeah, I still to this day don't know. I mean, I had coroner's investigations and all that, but to this day, I still don't know exactly what happened. It was 11 o'clock at night. I was speaking to him at 7 that night. And 11 o'clock, my phone rang. It was the hospital to say that he had passed away.
What did the doctors say to you? They had to see you. They had to talk to you.
No, no doctor spoke to me. No, it was all over the phone.
So what? You
So
drove
it's
down
not,
there?
well, there's no point. There's no point in driving down because he was gone.
Right.
So, I just went into you can imagine. And then I had to then phone my kids who had moved out and tell them, hey, your dad's just died.
How old were your kids at the time?
My kids were in their late 20s, early 30s at the time. And I had to, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm telling them, hey, you better get over here. Dad's just died. So it was a shock for all of us. It was a shock for all of us.
Wow. That is your best friend, your soulmate, your partner in life. Like
Yeah.
that's how you start your day and you end your day.
That's right. That's
And
right.
just like that.
Yeah. And we were just getting into that stage where the kids had moved out. I was working from home. He was working from home. He would come home if he had an early day, come home and he'd pour me a wine, and he'd have a beer and we'd sit by the pool. And so we were just getting into that beautiful part of our life without the kids, doing what we want to do.
Right. It was
And
your
then,
time.
yeah, it was our time. Yeah.
Right.
And then out of the blue, he was gone.
Denise, like I said before we even started recording, I'm so sorry for your loss. So what happened to Denise at this point? Beside the complete and utter shock, what happened to you? Where did you go in your mind with this? Because I can't imagine.
Yeah. I basically shut down.
Of course you
I
did.
I completely shut down. But at the same time, I wanted to be strong for my children because they had lost their father.
Right.
The mum's instinct kicked in, and like, I'm fine, I'm okay. Put the mask on. How was your day, mum? Oh, it was great. But I was really crumbling inside. I was dying. I died, and we die. There's no two ways about it. And I was losing things. I was losing my memory. I was only 51 at the time, and my daughter said to me, my younger daughter said to me, she said to me, Mum, I think you're getting Alzheimer's. She said, because you keep repeating yourself, you forgetting things. I really think you're getting Alzheimer's. You need to go and see somebody. Go and see the doctor. So I did. I went, okay, I'll go and see the doctor, but I'm sure I'm okay. I'm sure I'm not repeating myself.
Right.
And my doctor said to me, she said to me, beautiful lady, she said, Denise, she said, I want you to go and speak to somebody. You need to speak to somebody. And I went, nah, I don't. Because I'd never been for therapy or anything. I didn't need therapy. I was never in that headspace where, my husband Martin was my therapy. We had each other.
Right.
And she said, look, I've got a beautiful psychologist. Go and see her. And I did. And that's where I started unpacking my story. I started talking about it, what happened, sharing the times that I was in so much pain that I actually would squeeze myself between the toilet and the wall, you know, that little gap,
Yes. Yeah.
and just rock in a fetal position.
Trying to self-comfort.
Trying to self-comfort, just, yeah, absolutely. And Teresa said, my psychologist, who's become a very good friend of mine now, she said, yeah, you're grieving. You're grieving. So went there. I went and saw her every week. I was about 6 months later, and I still wasn't getting any better. I wasn't getting any better. I was thinking, when is this feeling this grief gonna leave me? Am I gonna be like this for the rest of my life? And I remember sitting there with a cup of tea, and we used to have tea and biscuits. And I said to her, Teresa, when am I going to start feeling better? And she said to me, Denise, you've just lost your husband. This is going to take between 5 and 7 years. And it was in that was my defining moment, one of many defining moments, but it was in that moment that I went, no way, no damn way is this going to take me 5 to 7 years.
Right.
Did a quick maths in my head, and I'll be close to 60 when I'm starting to live my life again. I'm not going to do that.
Your husband wouldn't want you to do that.
No way. No way. No way. So that was the beginning of me thinking, what else is there? What else can I do? Now, bear in mind, this was in 2009.
Mhm.
So there wasn't the Facebook groups, there wasn't all of that I could join. In Australia, we don't have grief share, whereas in the US, you know, there's a lot of people go to grief share. So there wasn't even that I could connect with other widows or other people. Plus, I'm an only child, so I've got no siblings or anybody that I could relate to. Both my
And you
parents have passed away.
and you don't
So
want to call and talk to your kids about it.
I don't want to talk to my kids about it because they've just lost their father.
Right. Right. So what did you start doing? How did you make that epiphany moment appear?
That was quite crazy. That was that when I go back now and I look at it, I think, my goodness, that was really a download or something that just jolted me. I
Mhm.
was in my previous life, my previous life, I was a bookkeeper to small businesses. So that's what I did. So if you were a small business owner, I'd come to you, do your books, do your QuickBooks, do all of that,
Mhm.
do your taxes. That's what I did. And I went to see it. I just carried on. I
Yeah.
just I just carried on doing the bookkeeping. Don't ask me how I balanced books and how I balanced things and did bank reconciliations and things like that. You need a brain for that, but I just went into auto mode, and that's what we
Yeah.
do.
Right.
We just go into coping mechanism. And it was a particularly bad day. This client had, God love her, God love her. She had 3 kids running around with snotty noses. There was washing on the dining room table that she had to push over. I still don't know if it's clean or dirty washing. I have no idea, for her to make a space for me to work. There was toys, there was mess, and of course you don't tell your clients, hey, look, my husband just died, so, be kind to me. So you just soldier on, you just carry on working.
Right.
And it was one of those clients where I would ask for something or ask for a receipt, and she'd go, I don't know. I don't know. What was this amount for? I don't know.
Oh no.
And I'm thinking, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Driving home, I just thought, there's no way. I've got to stop. I've got to stop doing what I'm doing. And when I got home, I had my laptop in my hand, and it's so vivid, such a vivid memory, because I was very corporate. I had my uniform on. I had, very corporate, little logo with my bookkeeping business, very corporate I was. Laptop in my hand, and I walked in the back door, and my little dog Lulu, little poodle, came to greet me, and I just looked at her, ignored her, just said, hello, Lulu, and took my laptop and threw it. Just threw my laptop. And I
Like you
said,
literally just tossed it.
I just tossed it. That's it. I
That's
didn't
it.
care at that stage if it broke, if it I really didn't care.
Right.
And my neighbor had visited me a couple of weeks before, and she had left a box of wine in the fridge, which was her wine. And I never touched it. But that particular night, I thought, I'll just have one glass of wine. Well, I ended up having the whole box.
The whole box?
The whole box.
Did you throw anything after that?
I woke up in the morning because with every glass and every sip I cried, and I cried more, and I cried more. And you know, wine has that habit of doing that. If you're sad, it'll bring out the sadness in you. And I woke up in the morning. I don't know how I got into bed. I woke up in the morning on the bed, still fully dressed, thumping headache. And that was my second defining moment. You cannot go on like this, Denise. There has to be a better way.
So you got up, brushed yourself off, a little confused about, how you got to where you were that morning. And is this when you came up with your flow method?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I
I'm
knew
so interested in this because
yeah.
there's so many different avenues out there and not all of them work for everybody. But this one is so intriguing and I can't wait for you to dive in. I love the acronyms flow, feel, let go, overcome, and whole. And could you kind of tell us how this happened, how it transpired, and then tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I I sat there with my head going dum, 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 took some headache tablets, and I knew I had to heal me. I was feeling broken.
Mhm.
And I would grieve for him for the rest of my life. Because grief is
Yeah.
love. You can't just switch it off. It doesn't happen that way. And I also knew that what I was doing wasn't working. And I sat and I thought, okay, I know I'll become a life coach. Now, this is back in 2009. Now,
Right.
I was going to become a life coach to heal me so I could get the tools for me. I was never going to work with anybody. If anything, I would be a business coach.
That made
But
perfect sense. Right.
that's where my head was, where my thinking was. And enrolled to be a life coach. It was an intensive program with NLP, with hypnosis, with a whole lot, everything, because Denise needed it all. Come on, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And that's where my journey began. And I sat back and I went, well, what really helped me? Because I healed really quickly. I healed within months. I healed myself. I grew, I let go, I started, living again. I started going out. I started going to, I started going out by myself. I started taking myself out for dinner and enjoying my life. And
Yeah. Did you want to go back to your therapist and be like, hey, I did this for my own?
well, when I started working in grief, she said to me, Denise, be very careful because grief is very complicated. And I went, really?
Yeah, thanks. I think so.
But yeah, it's and then reverse engineered it because I then did become a business coach, bookkeeper. I still carried on with what I was doing, obviously. And I remember sitting with the CEO of a fairly large company, and we were going through his books, and I was coaching him and so on. And out of the blue, he said to me, he said, Denise, why don't you work with widows? Why don't you work with widows and people that have lost a loved one? He
Right.
said, you're so compassionate. He said, you're wasting your talents being here with business.
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay. And then the tapping on my shoulder started. You know that invisible tapping? I
Yes,
would
I know it well. Yes.
I would bump into friends that hadn't seen me and going, "Oh, what are you doing now?" Oh, I'm doing, still working. I've done life coaching and I've got my certificate and blah, 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 blah. But why are you working with businesses, Denise? Why don't you help others? Look how well you've healed. And eventually I said, okay, God, universe, whoever you are that's giving me this message,
I got it.
I'll work in grief, because I didn't want to work in grief. It was like, no, don't want to go down that. No, I'm not. No, definitely
Right.
not. You know. And that's how my journey started. And then I reverse engineered. Okay, how did I heal? And I realized the first thing I did was I had to really feel.
Mhm.
I had to give myself permission to feel my emotions. What happens is we think we're feeling our emotions like, oh, yes, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling lost, feeling lonely.
Yeah.
But we're not feeling
Angry. Yeah.
angry. Yeah, but we're not feeling
Right.
because we put up the mask. We don't want to go there.
Right.
So with the tools that I had and how I helped myself is I went there. I
Right.
went down that deep pit of grief. Because it's only when we know what we're feeling can we let go of that emotion. We can't let go of it unless we really know, well, this is it. This is what I'm feeling. Then the overcoming starting to reimagine your new life, because it is a new life, regardless of who you've lost.
Hmm.
You know, whether you've lost a husband, whether you've lost a child, whether you've lost a parent, it doesn't matter, because there's a new life after that loss.
Right. I was going to say this really sounds like it would work for anybody who's gone through a loss, not necessarily just a
Yeah,
spouse.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because, you know, I've got a beautiful client that's lost her daughter, and her daughter died away from home. She was an adopted daughter as well, so her daughter died away at school. So it was reimagining her life as a mother without this adopted daughter. So it's not just for women that have lost a husband, or a husband that's lost a spouse, a wife, or our life changes.
Mhm.
And that's where I realized very early on is that the conventional way, the therapy way, the 5 stages of grief, wait for time, doesn't work,
Right.
because you're not taking action and you don't have the tools to heal yourself when those emotions come up.
Right. So how do you become whole?
So becoming whole is reimagining your life. It's the overcoming is learning how to reimagine your life. Becoming whole is rediscovering who that new person is. So you
Ah,
map out your way forward. We uncover your limiting beliefs. We uncover what's keeping you stuck. And that's all on a deep emotional level. It's not surface work. Because
s-
what grief does is it puts a magnifying glass over your life.
right.
And whatever has come up for you in the past, or whatever is coming up, it's 10 times worse, because your emotions are raw. You are so much in pain.
So you created an 8-week program. Can you kind of give us an overview of this program? Because it sounds amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's a journey into yourself. So over the 8 weeks, I work very closely with you. So you get the online program. It's an online program because I'm in Australia, but I work all over the world. Because everybody, grief is grief. It's uniform.
It
It
is.
doesn't matter where you are. So
Right.
my mission is to help as many people heal as quickly as possible. So the journey into you is, we start off with, who are you? Discovering yourself, going within. Because I've got one sheet in there which I call, or worksheet that I call, the pondering questions. And those questions are just that, pondering.
Mhm.
Questions we've never asked ourselves before.
Can you give us an example of one?
Absolutely. What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, those aren't things you think about asking yourself.
Another one is, what do you see your role in life?
You're really taking a deep dive.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's in the very first week.
Wow.
In the very first week, because once we get that, and then And then we work one-on-one. I work one-on-one as well. So it's not just the program, but we work one-on-one. So at the end of every week or every module, we hop on a Zoom call and I help unpack and I coach and I walk you through what you're going through. Because I don't believe that anybody can have a program that's going to have those deep questions and have transformation if you haven't got somebody there pulling you through.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, my clients, it's an amazing program. When I wrote it and I put it out there, I remember my first client, I went, I hope this works. That was
And look
many,
at you
many
now.
years ago. And hundreds of people later, yes, this works really, really, really well for everybody because it meets you where you're at in your grief journey.
Mhm.
It's not a cookie cutter approach.
And that's what a lot of those programs out there are. They're
Yeah.
very cookie cutter. Yeah. It's not specifically designed, and not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody grieves the same way. Not everybody
Right.
loves the same way. So you can't have a cookie cutter approach that's going to work for everyone.
That's right. That's right. Grief is really a personal journey.
It's a
And
powerful personal journey.
it's a gift. If you can see the gift in your grief, in your loss, because grief is the biggest leveling lesson that we can ever have in our life, the loss of a loved one. It changes us forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But what I see a lot of people get stuck in the old. I want them back. If only they didn't die. They get stuck in the past. And when they start moving forward and feeling happy again, they feel guilty because they feel like they're leaving the loved one, the person behind.
I lost my grandparents and they basically took care of me and they were amazing. And for the longest time, I went through this would have been fantastic. I mean, and there's not a day now that goes by, I still don't think about them. And I lost them when I was younger.
Yeah,
And now, I don't go through grief. I celebrate life. I celebrate all that they offered me and gave me through my life and taught me how to be. And I celebrate the fact that I had the time I did with them, and it makes such a difference, but I miss them every single day. I mean, there's not a day that goes by, and it's been 30 years,
yeah,
30 or more. Oh, but it's yeah, and you don't ever stop missing them because you really just love them to that level of unconditional love. So
yeah.
this is an amazing program. What does your program? It's an 8-week program. They get time with
Yep.
you. Can I ask what the cost of this program is?
Well, it is a high cost. When I say a high cost, it is I really like to get people on the call so that they see what they're getting with the program, because it's not a $500 program,
Uh-huh.
because you're working and you're transforming your life.
Then it's not a high cost, Denise, because you could pay for 10 cookie cutter classes and that's over
Yeah,
$500 combined. And if it doesn't work, then you wasted that money. But if you're investing in yourself and you're investing
yes,
in your future, then it's not a high cost. It's an investment within yourself.
absolutely. And this is why I like to hop on a call with people to see where they're at in their grief journey, because not everybody is ready
Mhm.
to do the dive.
Right.
This is not a program where you just follow the okay, module one's done, tick, module two's done, tick. It's so much more than that. It's transformation.
Right.
So when I say it's a high cost, I have a lot of people say, what? And then they go, oh, hang on, like you've just said, I'm investing in me.
That's right.
It's a no-brainer. It's a
Right.
no-brainer.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, think of
Yeah.
all the other money we invest in on things that really don't matter. And then you have the opportunity to bring yourself, you only have this one opportunity to really bring back the happiness within your life. And you have, I work with so many women of domestic violence, and I tell them, I said, you have a heart, you have one heart, and it has 4 chambers. And in that heart, we can fill it with love and happiness and laughter, and realize that you are a warrior, you are a thriver, and you enjoy every day, or you fill it with darkness and depression and sadness, and you stay in the past, and it just wears you down, and you just are unhappy in every aspect of life. And it's dark. It's a very dark place to be. Which would you rather be at? Where would you rather be? And what is that worth to you? Because
Yeah.
that right there is a small investment for the rest of your life. Let's look at it like on a 50-year plus. Is it worth whatever it is? Absolutely it is. Is it worth it for your children, or is it worth it for your grandchildren to see that person? Because they don't want the dark sided person. They want that person that you still have flickering inside. There's still that little light in there, and it's flickering, and that flicker can start a wildfire. What is that worth? It's immeasurable. It there, you can't put a price on it. And I'm sure that, when you think about it, and you talk about that, you cannot. If it works, then it's invaluable. There, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah. And talking about that, I worked with a client about 10 years ago, and out of the blue, she called me, messaged me, and she said, I just wanted to touch base with you and just say hi and see how you're going. And I went, oh my goodness, after 10 years of her graduating and changing her life, her husband had committed suicide, and there was a whole lot of other stuff involved. And um, I said, can we talk? So we hopped on a quick call, even though I'm in Australia. It's like, let's hop on a quick call,
Yeah.
because that's me. I'm available if I've got the time and I'm doing nothing. I'd rather speak to you and help you through than sit and watch Netflix or something. That's
Right?
just it's my calling. It's what I do. It's my passion.
Yes.
And we hopped on a call, and she was telling me that her parents had passed away in the meantime, and she had to wind up their estate and etc., etc. And we were chatting away, and she said to me, Denise, I didn't realize at the time of doing the flow program that the benefits that I would still have 10 years later.
Wow. What a testimony.
She said, it sort of floored me. It was like, yeah, well, of course, I know that because that's what I'm teaching. That's what I'm, it's
Right.
like, yeah,
Right.
really, I know that. But for her to say, to acknowledge that, she said, when my father died, I didn't have that deep grief. I knew that I would be okay. I was able to be there for my brothers. I was able to be there for my kids. When my mother died a few months later, it was exactly the same. And she said it was only after that, after winding up their estates and doing that, that I actually realized that, wow, what I learned with Denise in the flow method, in the flow program, all those years ago,
I love
is
it.
still with me today.
That is a beautiful testimony.
Yeah.
It really is. So, Miss Denise, tell me where I can make sure everybody finds you.
So I've got my website, which is flowgriefacademy.com. On there, I've got all the links to my programs. I've also got, I've had a big request from a lot of people to teach what I do. So I have now launched the Academy of Transformational Grief Coaching as well.
Good for you.
So those that want to help others heal and move on and move forward. And I hate saying move on, but it is really, there's this cliche, oh, you don't ever move on. But we have to move forward. We have to move on.
You have
It
to
just
carry on. You
is.
have to continue. Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah.
As tough as what it sounds, we just have to.
Right.
And it's living our loved one's legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
with the academy, you first have to heal. That's the first phase. There's three phases. There's actually three phases. There's the first phase, which is the flow method of healing. I only work and help people to help others that have suffered a loss. So if you haven't suffered a loss of a loved one, you can't help others. You don't have the same compassion. You
Right.
don't have the knowledge. You don't have the emotions.
That's
Sorry,
right.
but it just is. You don't have the anchors. You don't know what it's like.
Denise, I can tell you, as many women and families as I've helped, I don't want to take away from a moment of anybody who's gone through the education part. And, that's one thing. But to read it in a book, study it, and obtain those degrees, my hat's off. I've done the same thing. I've gone through all the schooling. But if you said to me, hey, Victoria, would you rather go to someone who's gone through the university, or would you rather go to somebody who has gone through life and has, the doctorate of life and has gone through this? There's no question for me because they understand 1,000,000% exactly what you've gone through and they get it, which makes it a totally different process in healing because you really genuinely understand. And I hate that, like the women I work with, I meet these beautiful souls because of abuse, but they're beautiful people who have lost themselves. And when I tell them it's never a competition, and they're like, oh, I've gone to a therapist. And they're like, and I absolutely recommend therapy. But if you can find somebody who's gone through it, because they're always like, why did you stay? Why did you let him hit you? You don't let him hit you.
No.
So I agree 1,000,000% with what you're saying about you need to have gone through it, unfortunately, in order to really connect with the people you're working with.
That's right. That's right. So that's a prerequisite for the academy. And I've got this beautiful Deb that I've mentioned that she lost her daughter. She's just certified as a flow transformational grief coach, and she's now helping other parents that have lost a child move forward. And that's the next phase. That's the next phase, is that, I'm still helping people. I'm still there with the flow method, with the flow. I'll never leave that. But to pass the baton on and teach others how to do that as well, that's magic.
It is magic. Magic.
Yeah.
Denise, I'm going to make sure we have every link that everybody can find you at. I would love to ask if you will come back on and talk with us again because you're amazing and your story is amazing. And I love what you've done with your calling. And so I want to make sure everybody can find you and get to you and utilize this amazing program. So can I ask you to come back on with us again?
I would love to. Absolutely love to. Be my absolute pleasure.
Thank you. You are amazing. And I know your husband is so proud of you. And you've
Thank
just done
you.
an amazing job. Thank you for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my passion, share my mission, and share my love.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.